Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This is episode 15 of Apple Slice, where we throw pesky presidential drivel right out the window and give you tasty tech talk of the Apple persuasion. Join myself, Simon, and Nick as we discuss the Dongle Life with USB-C and look at the rumoured jet white iPhone 7. Plus, the accessory price drop and Apple Pay expansion for Australia. So grab your salt and pepper, for it's time to season a mouth-watering Apple Slice. So, Nick, it turns out that despite price complaints and dongle hate, the new MacBook Pro is really popular.
Yeah, it's quite a funny one Apple posted. Well, I saw some, they said that it's outsold any Pro laptop that they've ever sold in the same period. And I also saw a third-party analysis that basically said that the only computer that's outsold it, not even comparing the same window, is the 12-inch MacBook, and it's outsold all other competing laptops by far. So, that was only after being on sale for 5 days.
Oh no, it's insane because this chart, it was by a company called Similar Tech, I think, and yeah, it was from April 2015 to just the end of October, so that span, time range. And it only accounted for US online sales, but still it gives you a pretty good idea. So other competitors of high-profile laptops were like these two Dell XPS models and the Microsoft Surface Book. And you just look at them on this chart, and the two Apple, the MacBook Pro and the 12-inch MacBook are just absolutely head and tails above them. And the fact that in that 5 days it actually hit 80% of the 2015 and 16 sales of the 12-inch MacBook, I honestly thought that the 12-inch MacBook would have been the more popular one.
Yeah.
And it just looks like it's going to surpass it pretty soon. So
yeah, that was pretty crazy. And these other laptops are basically like the Surface Book, the Yoga Book or whatever it's called from Lenovo.
Yeah,
pretty popular. Like these laptops get really good reviews from pretty well-respected sites, so they're not like anything to scoff at.
Yeah. As I said, this the chart itself is a comparison of your more high-profile stuff.
Yeah.
And I instantly thought, okay, maybe MacBook Pro, the sales will be a bit slower to start, particularly, with the removal of certain ports and the pricing definitely. But yeah, they've surprised us there. But hey, I'm one of those sales. However, still waiting to be charged. It is so frustrating, and I'm going to contact Apple tomorrow and be like, are you sure you haven't forgotten me? So just want to make sure.
So basically, you just ordered the base model. You didn't get any upgrades on any of the RAM, SSD, processor.
Yes, straight 13-inch touch bar base model.
Yeah, I find it crazy that they haven't basically charged you yet, or that it's
I need to talk to some other Aussies who've ordered one and see what's happening with them. So yeah, anyway, I'm sure it'll happen soon because it still has a estimated arrival time of between now and my birthday. So yeah, I'm ready. Apple, just send it on through. Okay, so a little bit of other news. Apple Slice is now on Stitcher Radio. If you use Stitcher to listen to your podcast, you can find us there. It's a pretty popular platform behind, obviously Apple's podcasts app. So yeah, search Apple Slice there and subscribe to get all the goodness. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with product perception. Now, you've made a recent purchase. Listening to our last episode, you sounded like you were going to get an iPhone, but then you were also sounding like you may get an Apple Watch. So which one was it?
Yeah, so it would have almost, I think anyone who was betting on it would have said the iPhone 7, but it turns out I actually got the Apple Watch Nike Plus version. So
Cool.
I was looking at getting the iPhone 7, walked into the store, and so it went on sale on the Friday and they ran out of stock pretty quickly. So I checked at like 9:30 in the morning and headed through to the store at about 12, and they didn't have one. So I was like, okay, well, anyway, I'll just get the iPhone. It's all good. And then, a couple of days later, when I was looking at going to get the iPhone, I saw, oh, they have stock. I thought, let me just check on the Apple Store app, and I saw that they had stock of the Nike Plus Apple Watch. So I just decided to go get it. And yeah, so I got the 42 millimeter model, which is in line with the original one that I got. I got the black and gray version, which is, I think, much better than black and Volt. What, you've seen the black and Volt in store. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was so surprised, Nick. I really thought you were going to get Volt. I know how much you love that color. Yeah, you were just raving on about that color. I just note sarcasm. So, yeah, it was, my reactions with that is, as Nick said, I just went into the Booragoon store in WA recently and tried on the one that has the black and Volt band, and I still like it when the Apple Watch isn't actually on, nothing's on the display. But as soon as you've got all your icons on there or anything that is like, another bright color, it clashes with the Volt color, and I instantly was just like, nah, there's no way I'd be able to purchase, this band. I think, the option you went with black and gray is the way to go for the Nike.
Yeah, so I was initially quite keen on the space black stainless steel Apple Watch, but they haven't had stock of the Apple Watch Series 2. They haven't had great stock of it since it was launched. So basically, I thought, well, the Nike Plus is like a one of a kind. You get unique watch faces, you get a band that you can't buy on its own, and well, it's $580 versus $890. So, but
Yeah.
I'd rather go for that. And I'm really happy with it so far. So performance wise, it's really fast, significantly faster than the original Apple Watch.
Cool.
So it's really, that's fun to use. So opening apps, and especially dock apps, are instant. If you scrolling through the dock, which was one of the most noticeable lags that I had on the original Apple Watch, it's just really smooth, fluid, fast. The only issue that I had was trying to check the South Africa-Australia cricket score yesterday, and it turns out that the only reason it wasn't actually loading was because I didn't have cellular data turned on for that app on my phone. So Once I figured that out, it loaded and was all good. I really like the look of it. So I have quite a few third-party bands, and so as the listeners will know, I have the nylon black and gray band. I have the black sports band, the white sport band, a midnight blue sport band, a black leather band, and they all look really nice with this watch, except I'm not a huge fan of the leather one because it has the stainless steel lugs, so it kind of clashes really badly.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I just, whenever I want to go for that more formal look, I just revert back to my original Apple Watch, which still looks really nice, but I must say I've worn it less than I thought I would. I thought I'd have 50-50 time with them, and I basically have worn my old watch 1 out of the last 10 days. So I'm really enjoying the new one. It's awesome to use. And the Nike Plus band, I don't wear it every day. I basically wear it when I'm exercising and maybe on casual Friday at work. And it's really nice. It's much better than the normal sports band. It's super breathable. It's quite flexible and really light. So another thing going from the old watch to the new watch is that the stainless steel one is generally pretty heavy, and even with the weight increase on the Series 2, the aluminium one is quite light. So I'm really enjoying it, and I think someone else on this show should get one.
Yeah, I wonder who that person would be. It's definitely been. I've definitely had a positive reaction to them trying them on in store. So, it's just a case of, what sort of combination. I still think in the end I'd probably steer away from a Nike one only because I don't have that, sports interest or whatever in terms of workouts and stuff. So, but still a very nice watch nonetheless. So yeah, also while I was in store, I got to try out the iPhone 7 Plus portrait mode. So I mentioned this to Nick and he agrees, is that trying out the portrait mode of the bokeh effect in store, it's a little bit hard because you've got indoors lighting, and I was trying to take a picture of one of the other phones next to it, and where the light was kind of reflecting off the top of the phone versus the lighter kind of pine color of the table, it was blurring out there, so it couldn't detect the edge properly for the bokeh effect. And I sort of expected that anyway. I am certain that it will work a lot better in an outdoor situation, especially, with something with more definitive outline. So I wasn't disappointed per se, but it was a bit awkward to kind of see it sort of blurring in and out. I did catch a few moments where it looked absolutely perfect. So you said that you got to try this out as well. How are you feeling about it now after seeing the sort of slight glitchiness that can occur?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what you're doing, trying to take a photo of while you're trying portrait mode, but I was just trying to take a photo of the other iPhone on the table, and it... Yeah,
that's what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly, and I found the exact same results as you, where it was kind of blurring the top of the phone and couldn't really make out what was the focus of the picture, so I wasn't too impressed with it at that stage, but as you say, it's like a bit of a weird... it's like a special case with the lighting and just...
Yeah.
They
almost need like a sky roof or something for that section,
Yeah. So I went with Michelle to the store, I think it was yesterday, and tried it out just looking at her through the portrait mode, and it absolutely worked perfectly. So
yeah, yep.
Same sort of situation in store, but actually on a human subject, and it worked really well. It's just that when I went originally, I'm sure you felt the same thing, but holding it up to randoms in the store probably wouldn't go down well.
Yeah, I know. I did actually start doing that, and then I had this lady staring at me through the phone. I was like, okay, I'm going to just... but yeah, it's... in saying that, it worked better me. So to the right of me, I had a lighter phone. I think it was a silver one, and that's where the effect wasn't working. Turned to the left... or the other side of the table, and there was the black phones, and that worked a lot better. So it's definitely that edge detection factor. And speaking of the black phones, I got to kind of get a bit of a better look at both sizes of 7 and 7 Plus and comparing the black with jet black. I mean, we're going to talk about colors a little bit later in the episode, but it was good to kind of get that. I always wanted to get that real life reaction to how a jet black looks after being handled. So as I said, we'll mention that soon. But also in store, and the first thing I asked when I went in there, went up to the employee and he said, "How can I help you?" And I was just like, "Do you have the MacBook Pro with the touch bar?" And instantly, no. So, you yourself said that you could have told me that in advance, but instead they had the one without the touch bar.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Immediately went over to the table, and it was lined up along the other three colors of the 12-inch MacBook. So you kind of got to get an instant size comparison there. Form factor, absolutely awesome. The thinness is incredible, and as expected, it's not as thin as the 12-inch, but it can't be with all the tech inside. The display looks awesome, but I didn't sort of do too much browsing on it to really test it. But yeah, the main thing I tested out was the keyboard. Did a bit of fake typing on one, switched over to the 12-inch next to it, did a bit of fake typing on that, and it's just instantly different. Even though it's the same sort of technology, the same butterfly mechanism, that second generation one is just that much better. It just feels lighter and quicker. The 12-inch one still feels good, but it feels like the keys feel a bit stiffer, like then you're not actually doing anything. With the 13-inch feels much more natural. So I was very happy with that, and very happy with how the Space Gray looked. So charge my card, send me my goddamn laptop, please. So
yeah, I don't think anyone's been as keen for money to go out of their account as
I know,
as you have been for this. But It's understandable.
It's just sitting there taunting me. But okay, so we're going to move on to a new section called The Price is Right for anyone picking up on that bit of a reference to the Australian game show there of Larry Emder, Price is Right. So this is a new segment where we talk about Apple product or service price changes. Okay, so something's happened recently with USB-C accessories. But just before we get into that, I just want to talk a little bit about Dongle Life. So dongle is a very funny word. Obviously, people have been using that term for a fair bit since they started creating, little plug-in modems and that sort of thing. So it keeps popping up in articles and reviews for the MacBook Pro because, the biggest complaint is everyone is talking about, now I need 1 billion accessories, all these dongles, all these cables. So from when we spoke about this in the last episode, do you have kind of any changed thoughts on it? Do you think it's actually looking into it that it's more of a bigger deal, or do you kind of think that it's just the sacrifice that you have to make for the change in the industry?
Yeah, so I don't think it's more of a big deal. I agree. It's just I think it's just a sacrifice you have to make. My basic view on moving towards USB-C versus something like removing the headphone jack, which I guess I never had a problem with anyway, but moving towards USB-C, that's a standardized port. So Apple doesn't make any money on licensing the port. It's a multifunction port. It's, as I said, standardized, so you can go onto Amazon, which I don't recommend because they don't have really good safety protocols on all USB-C cables. But basically, if you don't want to go through Apple, there are plenty of other reliable manufacturers that make USB cables and dongles and hubs, displays, hard drives, like anything you want. You don't have to go through Apple to get it. So I'm all in favor of moving to USB-C over something like USB-A, which I get a lot of people have, and there's been the complaint that Apple still ships the USB-A to Lightning cable in the box with the iPhone, and I don't think it's because they think that's better. I think that that's because they acknowledge that that's still more mainstream, and they know what kind of backlash they'd get if they stopped doing that. So
yeah, I mean, just speaking about that, do you think the next year's iPhone will be Lightning to USB-C? I kind of think it will.
Yeah, I do think it will be. I hope it will be because, mainly because of the power output that can go over USB-C. So
Yep.
I know.
Definitely agree.
With if you use the 12-inch MacBook charger with a USB-C to Lightning cable, you can get 29 watts out of it, which is much better than the 12-watt one that ships with the iPad. So
yeah, definitely. Well, so my take on this is I just kind of think, and what I'm having to, definitely consider getting very soon, is some sort of, solution to this for use of, particularly for myself. I'll need a HDMI port and USB-A. So I still think in the end that a multi-port hub is the best option. There's this new one coming out. It's like an almighty one. It's sort of quite expensive, called the Arc Hub, but it looks awesome. But I probably don't need all the different ports on there. So Apple themselves have one that's got HDMI, a USB-C throughput, and a USB-A in it. So I kind of think that's the way to go. I was originally looking at different brands, but now they've had a price drop, which pushes us into our next part of this. So Apple just recently, to compete with popular brands such as Belkin and Anker, you can now find better pricing on Apple adapters and Apple cables. So these are all USB-C related. Obviously, it's their way to kind of ease people into the whole process of having bought a MacBook Pro, but it's for a limited time. That part's a bit disappointing because I kind of think, well, maybe if they can get away with dropping it, they should just leave it there. But still, I'll just run off a quick list of some of the new pricing. So now you can get USB-C to USB-A for $12 Australian. C to digital AV multiport, which is one I'd want, for $75. C to VGA multiport for $75. And C to Thunderbolt 2 for $45. And they also have the cables, that's C to Lightning in the 1 meter for 25 or the 2 meter for 45. They've also cut pricing on Belkin accessories as well. So I definitely suggest, if you're thinking of getting the MacBook Pro or waiting for them to charge your card, just jump on the Apple Store and check it out, because you've got until the end of the year. So what do you think of this sort of move for them dropping the pricing?
I was really surprised by this. So it was not only in response to their competitors, but also in response to some of the backlash that they'd been getting. So initially, there was hashtag Dongle Life on Twitter and quite a few pros protesting, if you'll appreciate my pun, but protesting against the move to USB-C and basically feeling that Apple doesn't have pros in mind anymore. So Apple initially responded by saying, well, a whole lot of people are buying these. They've outsold any other Pro notebook we've ever sold. So what are you guys talking about? And kind of thought they'd leave it at that. But then they did the price drop, which really surprised me, because they've already released a laptop with USB-C and left it at that, and did a price drop for this one, which is only temporary, which also a bit odd. And then later on, they will release another 12-inch MacBook and more MacBook Pros. And what will they do then? It's like they've set a precedent that, okay, we could give these at a lower price, but we're not going to do it forever.
I still think the best option would have been to just include probably the most wanted cable being the A to C. Could have had that in the box and maybe left it as that. That's sort of a decent enough compromise, I think. But yeah, it is strange, because then, as you said, coming around next time and people are going to complain because people who've actually ordered the MacBook Pro and some of these Apple accessories are getting money back on that price drop.
So are you going to take advantage of the price drop while it's still available?
Yeah, so what I was doing was initially, the only reason since the price drop that I haven't gone straight onto the C2 digital AV multiport, which is the one I want, is purely for the look of it. Like, it's cool, it's Apple, like, it still looks nice, but I want like a space grey color matched one.
Right.
And there are competitors that do offer that, but some are at a premium. So I'm sort of looking at between just going the Apple one at that price or a few other suppliers there, because there are people out there doing space grey ones. So, but yeah, I mean, it's essentially something that's kind of going to be hidden out of view anyway, but it's just an aesthetic thing.
So ports and adapters are one thing, but there was also a price drop on the LG ultrafine displays. They're probably the most interesting device other than the MacBook Pro coming out of that event. Basically I was really pretty intrigued by their partnership with LG after having dropped the Thunderbolt display, and initially not so shocked at the price. So they've dropped the price by 25%, and you can get two models. You get the 4K model, which is now $699. $699 American dollars.
That's how much it was. So it was $699 American down to $524, and so and basically the Australian one, I don't know what the price was before, but it's now $756.
Yeah, I think it was like $999 around there.
So it's a good drop. Like, it's a good saving.
Yeah, and I really thought it was decently priced. So, and then you've got the 5K one that's now $1,417 Australian dollars. Yeah. And that went down from $12.99 US to $974. So significant price drops on these, and I think like a really good buy while you can. The only unfortunate thing is, again, the limited time offer and the shipping time. So it's 5 to 7 weeks on the 4K display, and you currently can't even press buy on the 5K one. So
yeah, I know. It's going to be like a real short window.
Yeah. A bit like the AirPods, I guess.
Yeah.
So what do you make of the displays? Because you've got an iMac, but...
Yeah, I won't need... I plan on using the MacBook Pro's actual screen as much as I can to have that whole experience of using it with the touch bar and the screens right there.
Yeah.
I very much love 4K, 5K displays, but yeah, I've got a standard iMac at home, and the fact that it's not Retina doesn't actually bother me quite yet, because it's when you sit back, it still actually looks really nice and sharp, even compared to other screens that you could get out there.
Yeah.
So I'm not too bothered by that. I'm not, while I do graphics and image editing stuff, I'm not a photographer myself. So in terms of having absolute color accuracy for that sort of thing, I think that tech is great, but I can still get by without it. So yeah, I still think the tech they put into these LG Ultrafines and this new pricing is awesome. If anyone's out there wanting to get an awesome display that's all got your USB-C, it can charge your MacBook Pro and everything, definitely jump onto this while you can. You got till the end of the year, but I don't think I'll quite be able to convince work to buy me one, because I'll probably because I've already got two screens at work anyway. So which is what I needed the HDMI for. So. And so speaking of price drops, it's analysts out there saying to expect price drops on the actual MacBook Pro in 2017. From what I understand, this is kind of standard practice, that they release something and then the price decreases. Is this your understanding?
Yeah, so it definitely happened with the original 15-inch Retina MacBook Pro. So I guess it's the view that it's new technology and it costs more, and they'll bring down the price as and when they can. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes through. I would imagine that you'd be pretty frustrated, I guess, if it happens within the next 12-month window. Yeah.
I just kind of think that probably by that point you've already, if you're sitting there and you're specifically holding out for a price drop that may or may not happen, that in itself is probably going to be more frustrating than just buying it now and then it happening in 12 months' time.
Yeah, so
I think, yeah.
I found this on the website the other day, and I'd known that they'd only done something like this with the iPad 3, or the new iPad as it was called at the time. So basically, they have like a price drop protection. So it's like if you buy something and then within 2 weeks they drop the price, they'll automatically credit you with the difference. So that I find to be pretty cool. And I think, as you say, within like after a year, you're kind of not bitter about it anymore. But if you holding out for a price drop and then eventually decide to pull the trigger, and then 2 weeks later the price drops, you're still covered by that price protection.
I mean, I think with these new MacBook Pros, if they weren't selling well and they were kind of forced to do a price drop to get sales, I think, like with the accessories, they would credit people that paid the original price. But as we just mentioned at the start of the episode, sales are super strong. I wouldn't expect a price drop.
Do you think that's why they dropped
at least another 10 months?
Price of the iPad Pros and the Apple TV 4 at the September event?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I haven't actually looked into the sales too much of them, but from what I gather, like, sales were consistent, but they didn't exactly skyrocket like in the way that these MacBook Pros have. So
yeah.
So price drops. This one's a bit of a strange one. So let's talk about there being an Apple Music price drop. So the rumor is that they're going to be doing a $2 price cut to single and family monthly plans. So this is to better compete with Spotify and Amazon. So currently, Apple Music to Spotify, the pricing is the same. So if you go on the current pricing, in US it's $9.99 for single, $14.99 for family, and in Australia it's $11.99 for single, $17.99 for family. So if you were to lower that based on the US pricing, it goes down to $7.99 single and $12.99 family, and then Australian equivalent being $9.99 single and $15.99 family. But yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, whether they're like, how legitimate do you think it is? Like a whole $2 price drop, it seems, because they're already quite low prices, so it sort of seems actually quite a significant cut.
I'm not too convinced that this is going to happen.
Yeah, because I kind of think that the fact they've price matched each other anyway.
So a large proportion, I think like $5 or $6 already going straight to the music industry. So there's not a lot of margin in it for them. And to basically take 20% of the whole amount, or effectively 40% of their profits when they've had pretty steady growth, I would say in the past year, I would be pretty surprised. They also, I know with the Amazon Music service, it's $8 a month for Prime users, but Prime is $100 a year. So, you know, if you were only getting Prime for that, you're not scoring anyway. So it's kind of,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's direct. Like their normal without Prime price is $10 a month. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah, me neither. So we're going to move from one rumor to another. So we've now entered rumor mill. Okay, so talks of in 2017 there being a gloss white or jet white being the naming, iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. So how likely do you think this is? And from the mock-up that you've seen and the fact that it may be called jet white, would you like to see a jet white iPhone? Do you think the name should be different because, you know, jet white isn't sort of a common term?
I'm not sure how likely it is. I would love to see it happen. I think it would be pretty cool and it sounds pretty novel. I hope jet white isn't the term. I hadn't put too much thought into it until I started reading the comments in some comment sections and people were going a bit crazy about jet white, and then I was like, well, what else could it?
Yeah, I was thinking something like ice related. I know the word glacier is a bit too many syllables in there, but that's what I'm thinking.
I think of glacier being more like bluey white.
What, like the actual color, or calling it that?
Like if they called it that, then I would imagine the color to be more bluey white.
Oh, okay. If they called it glacier, yeah, I thought you meant calling it bluey white, and then I thought we're entering Google Pixel territory there. So, yeah. So, well, I don't know. Something short, but certainly not jet white. How many? You know, jet black is the term for the color. So,
do you think white is like all the other white phones have just been called white? The white iPhone 4, white iPhone 4S.
If it was the aluminium, like if it was aluminium white, then they would probably call it white. I just kind of think that if they went with the same gloss style as the jet black, they might give it a different name for that reason. But then also there wouldn't be a second white, so they could just call it white. But
yeah. I think the reason for jet black and black is just to differentiate, because I know with space gray they have like given it a specific shade of gray, like a name, but just historically they haven't. I know, I think it'll just get into Google Pixel territory if they go a bit far down the road with the naming. But nonetheless, naming aside, it sounds really, really cool, like a sort of glossy white version, which is what I would be keen for.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is the Magic Mouse. That's what I'm kind of thinking. You know, how you got that glossy surface, but it's white underneath.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
Is the 2008 or like around there MacBook, the white plastic MacBook, which was my first MacBook. So
yeah, I mean, I think it will look good. For me, it will eliminate a large amount of the fingerprint factor. Yeah. Unless you were just eating Doritos or something. But I just and that's what I wanted to mention. So basically, I went into the store, checked out the black and jet black, and I love the look of jet black, but to me, just seeing like fingerprints or seeing any minor scratches on it would probably get to me too much, and I'd kind of, I think between that and then me just loving like the matte smooth look, I prefer black over jet black. And so in saying that, I reckon we should just quickly list off, if jet white was real, what would your color favorites be in order of most to least favorite?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so I'd go black, jet white, jet black, silver, rose gold, then gold.
Interesting.
Only because, okay, so the bit about the rose gold factor is I wouldn't buy a rose gold product but I still actually think it looks better than the gold. And I would never buy gold. Like I'd just go. I always love space grey, and I like silver, and I love the blacks, and I'd love a jet white. But I still actually like rose gold that bit better than gold. So what's yours?
So mine would go jet black, which is the iPhone 7 Plus that I most likely would get. Then black, jet white, which I think would be really sick, especially if I had a ceramic Apple Watch. And then gold, silver, rose gold.
Yeah.
So silver, I think, has gone way down. I'm not a huge fan of silver. And rose gold, like I put in how unlikely I would be to buy it too. So yeah, but I thought gold was pretty nice. It's like champagne-y colored.
Oh no, it is nice. I just don't like. I love the gold in the Apple Watch look, like with like gold with the dark blue or something like that. I love that combination, but I don't like too much gold.
So you don't like the 12.9-inch iPad in gold?
I wouldn't get it. It looks great. Like, don't get me wrong, they all look fantastic, but you're competing with heaps of awesome options here. So
yeah, it's a huge decision-making factor. So I've gone into the store probably about 20 times in the past 2 weeks just to decide which black I want.
You're probably walking in there like, oh, he's that bloody Nic guy again.
Yeah, well, Michelle reckons they know who I am by now, but I just like sneak to a different part of the store and have a look.
No, you don't. You need your like little slap on, moustache and glasses or whatever.
Yep. Well,
yeah.
the Sydney Apple Store has 3 stories, so I just kind of like shuffle off to the different levels over different days and have a look at them and try out portrait mode and see how many fingerprints on the display models.
Yeah.
So I think I'm on jet black at the moment, but as we know, my mind changes.
Yes, that is certainly the truth. So, so that's what we think about colours. What do you guys think about a jet white? Would the name jet white put you off? Would you love to see one? Just, let us know. Jump onto any of our social profiles, which we'll list at the end.
Yeah, and let us know what colour devices you currently have, if you colour match when you get devices. So I know, I generally tend to, unfortunately for Michelle, she kind of either gets my hand-me-down devices like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro or, it doesn't really get to color match. So, let us know.
And also, if there's any listener out there that purchases only silver products, I'd love to meet you. So,
well, I still like the silver MacBooks. I think that is the original. It looks so nice. So. But it's not color matching.
Yeah. No, that is true. And I still love the silver too. But as mentioned, last episode went space grey purely because the previous one was silver. So, okay, we're going to move on into Deal Down Under. So there's been some Apple Pay expansion for Australia, but not to the level that we'd like. However, it's still good news nonetheless. So there's been a partnership with a payments company called Cuscal. I'd never heard of them. And they're bringing over 30 credit unions and banks on board with Apple Pay in Australia. So notable mentions in this list is Credit Union Australia, Bank Australia, Teachers Mutual Bank Limited, and People's Choice Credit Union. I'm not part of any of those. As listeners would know, I'm waiting for Commonwealth. I've put the whole list on our Facebook and Instagram, so you can read it there. This is good news. It's definitely not 100% what we want, but the managing director of Cuscal says he hopes this will influence the big banks, to settle their differences with Apple. So do you think this is going to help with pushing them over the line there?
Yeah, I think it's really good news. I was originally pretty happy with the American Express deal because I thought it would be a catalyst. Unfortunately, my dreams didn't come true there, but what this deal shows me is that Apple hasn't given up on Apple Pay in Australia after the resistance it's faced. So I hold out a lot of hope and everyone who's with these, I think there were like 4 million accounts between these credit unions and banks. So
that's pretty cool considering don't know what it's at now, but I think the population being near 30 million. So that's actually a decent chunk there.
Yeah, hopefully those guys get on board. I know that not everyone knows that their devices can actually be used for Apple Pay, so never forget that. If you have a compatible card, it's really fun to use, really simple, and I love it, especially on my watch, so go for it.
Just going to transition to edible extras here when we're talking about Apple Pay. So there's actually, turns out that Apple Pay is the 5th most used online payment technology. And it's only, this is for web. So that's only been out since Sierra launched, so September. So there's this platform called Similar Tech. And sorry, I mentioned that name earlier about the MacBook Pro, that I was wrong there. But it's a platform called Similar Tech, and they did a chart based on the most used payment technologies in the top 10,000 websites. So Apple Pay has a 5th position there, and it still maintains 5th position even in the top 100,000 sites. So this is really impressive considering their competitors have had years to establish a position there. So I'm just going to quickly read the top 5 and the amount of sites that payment technology is available on. So PayPal has number 1 and PayPal Subscribe has spot 2. So they collectively have over 1 million sites. So Stripe is in spot 3. So this includes Shopify Payments, which uses Stripe, and that's on over 38,000 sites. In number 4, we have Braintree, which is on over 48,000 sites. And then Apple Pay, number 5, only been out for just over a month, only on 1,035 sites. Like, this is just seriously exciting for if they're in the 5th spot already. I mean, just give it a year from now and we wonder where they'll be.
The growth of Apple Pay has been really impressive. I'm not surprised, as I said, given how much I enjoy using it, but it's really, really cool. So yeah, hopefully they continue with this push towards making it a fundamental part of their business. I know they keep pushing their services during their earnings call, which is basically stuff like Apple Pay and Apple Music, and those really enhance the user experience. So I've had a look at the Pixel recently while doing my iPhone 7 shopping, and stuff like Apple Pay and Apple Music keep me on board. So I'm just really impressed with their services too.
And just to point out, this actually puts Apple Pay ahead of rivals being Google Wallet and Amazon Payments, which is also a big win for Apple there. And yeah, just a little side note is I run a few Shopify sites. If you log into the admin, and they actually had a prompt about this before it came out, there's a big, you log in, there's a big feature telling you to activate Apple Pay for your store. So, Shopify Payments uses Stripe in itself, but they're also really pushing Apple Pay. So, that's pretty cool. And I'd definitely be extra keen to activate that once we've got full Apple Pay support in Australia. But yeah, just going to, while we're talking about payments, pull over to another piece of news. You can now do PayPal payments with Siri. So I tested this out. I just said, hello Siri, not going to use the proper words there. I said, send Tim $20 using PayPal. And because this was the first time I've asked, it prompted me to access contacts, because I don't use PayPal that much. And then I had to do Touch ID. So I tried it a second time. There was no prompts, no Touch ID needed. And it was pretty quick. So yeah.
You actually sent someone money with PayPal?
Okay, yeah. Okay, slight white lie. I got as far as sending them. Like, it was like, do you want me to send it? And I was like, no. So
so you cancelled?
I cancelled, but I'm assuming it works. So, because
okay, no, I would assume so too. Given that you got that far, I was just wondering if there is that opportunity to cancel before. Cause
yeah, there definitely is. It's like when you tell Siri to send a message. It's like, do you want me to send it? And then you say yes or no.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Yeah,
cool.
And I did try just for kicks as well. I was like, send Nick $20, and it picked up Nick as NICK, which then didn't match you to my contacts list. So Unfortunately, Nick, I can't send you any PayPal money.
You should add my surname in there, and then if you say Nick Morris, even if it thinks Nick is with the K, it will still then realize that you're not talking about that guy. And then
I'll try it right after this. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Okay, there's also been a Gmail app update. Have you seen this?
I don't use Gmail.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I've only I've got it on there purely just for running some admin with this podcast. And I've got a few clients that I've had to set up Gmails for that are in there. So yeah, the previous Gmail app, it was fine. I still never found it nowhere near as good as Apple's native mail app. But yeah, they've redesigned it. It's definitely far more readable, far more easier to just archive messages and that sort of thing. And so it looks better, ties in with all their other stuff. But the cooler feature from it is it's got a undo send. So basically, if you go to send something, you can, in the settings, choose whether you want it to delay sending by 5, 10, 20, or 30 seconds. So if you accidentally send something halfway through writing an email or it's going to the wrong person, you can actually have 5, 10, 20, or 30 seconds to jump in there and cancel it. So undo send. So that's
really cool. So
that might save a few people's bottoms. So.
Yeah, I think so. Like, please find attached, and you didn't attach it or accidentally.
Yeah, here's the attachment. Yeah, exactly.
Thumb press on the send button. But so yeah, I mean, what like someone else gets an email 5 seconds later versus you saving yourself. So that I found to be a really novel feature when I was looking up the new Gmail app. I said I don't use Gmail, but as you say, for this podcast, we use a Gmail account, and I mainly use the web account there. But I've tried out Inbox before. Have you ever tried out the Inbox Gmail app?
Yeah. Yes, I did. But then I think I already had the general Gmail on there, so I'd removed it. But
yeah, it's pretty much like the old Mailbox app, if you ever used that, which was pretty novel.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And that one got removed, didn't it? The original one.
I think
called
they
Mailbox.
got bought by someone. So as a side note, how that app actually relates back to Apple is Eddie Q's son is a programmer, I think, for Mailbox, and then it got bought by Gmail. But I'll let you guys know on the next podcast. It was a good.
I wonder if he has that same car salesman smile that Eddie Q has. Kind of like, I'm selling you something, you know.
Yeah.
You're not leaving here without paying money, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to wrap this up. Said in the intro that we weren't going to get into presidential stuff. I'm sure everyone has been overloaded by it, but this directly relates to Apple. I think it's a pretty important one. So do you want to tell us about that, Nick?
Yeah, so basically Tim Cook emailed all of his employees on the day of the results, basically asking them to keep asking for unity and for them to move forward together after a divisive presidential election. So we know that Apple has always been an inclusive company, specifically under Tim Cook's leadership, with him being openly gay. That's just one version of inclusiveness, but essentially they realized the importance of diversity, and he asked for their employees to, while being diverse, move forward together. So I was really impressed by that. What did you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I thought that was good because, I mean, we know, Tim Cook has expressed his political views and he's involved with, he was actually going to be considered for the vice president position if Hillary were to get in, I think, or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he was a nominee.
So basically they had like a 40-person list that they divided into subcategories of they sent to her, like, these are your options, I guess, and Tim Cook and Bill Gates were on the list under like technology figures. So I don't even know whether he would have known he was up for decision, like that kind of choice at that stage, but yeah, certainly is more in the Democratic Party than the Republican Party, but nonetheless respecting
and that's why.
results.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was good that he just asked for everyone to continue as normal. I don't want anyone leaving Apple in a fit of rage or anything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool that he went ahead and did that to just kind of keep the peace and to keep the focus on what Apple's actually really about, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wraps up a good episode. We sort of covered a whole bunch of stuff there. Of course, if anyone wants to follow us on social media, you can find Apple Slice on Instagram with Apple Slice Podcast, on Twitter with at Apple Slice AU or on Facebook by searching Apple Slice Podcast. Now, I tell you to just check out any of these because we're going to be launching a mailing list sign up soon. So this is where you get notified once a fortnight the instant a new episode is released. So no annoying promos, no clickbait crap, just one easy email. If that's the way you roll, of course. If you don't like email reminders, you can just subscribe. So you can just search Apple Slice in the podcast app in Stitcher now or most other podcast players. Of course, if you're in the podcast app or iTunes, be sure to rate and review. Let us know what you think, how we can improve, anything like that. All feedback is welcome. So, Nick, it's been great having you on again. How do you feel about this episode?
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. So it's good talking and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, no worries. I'll catch you later.
Cheers.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.